resource scarce in the Islamic economy? First of all, let me explain about Islamic economics' primary goal. Muslim experts have agreed that Islamic economics' primary goal is, first, to create social justice, second, eliminate poverty, third, reduce wealth inequality, and lastly, get rid society of corruption. We cannot deny that humans need food, drink, clothes, and safety to sustain life for them to do day-to-day activities. Each individual must engage in economic activities such as production, distribution, and consumption to meet all of these needs and desires. However, in order to meet all of these needs and desires, they frequently face an economic problem. What do you think? That is scarcity. So, what is scarcity? Scarcity is a never-ending problem of people's wants and needs in a world with limited resources, which also means that society will never have enough valuable resources to meet all of its people's wants and needs. Not all wants and needs can be satisfied at the same time, so choices must be made. When there is a scarcity of resources, choices have to be made. Islamic economics contrasts with the concept of conventional, in that it does not regulate the amount and quality of asset availability and accessibility. It is also focused on individual freedom without regard for the interests of others. But in Islam, there is no absolute freedom of ownership, but there is no absolute constraint as well. It is the method. Islam governs the method, not the amount of ownership and how ownership is used. Scarcity studies are important because they reveal how customers perceive a limited supply of an item and how this influences their purchasing decision.
Scarcity can produce poverty, hunger, and bad emotions that affect consumption and productivity. SDGs aim to end poverty, hunger, safeguard the planet, secure peace and prosperity for all. They advocate responsible consumption and production to protect the environment and society. Scarcity means that people's resources are insufficient to satisfy their wants. Hence, all countries agree that poverty must be prevented through economic growth. Finally, we would like to clarify 5 questions that we have raised in relation to our topic, which are: what is the difference between Islamic economics and conventional economics? What is the scarcity assumption? Does scarcity exist in Islamic economics? Why absolute scarcity is not accepted in Islam? And the last one, what is the alternative to the campaign of zero hunger if the resources are scarce?
The economic system is a system of production, distribution of goods and services, and allocation of resources within a given geographic area or a society. In economics, we have several types of economics, in which we will discuss more in Islamic economics and conventional economics. Islamic economics is economics that has limits on several things such as transactions, contracts, and properties, which relies on Sharia and law. Most of the rules in the economy are using the Quran and Sunnah as guidelines, but some of the rules have been adjusted for changes in socio-political and economic circumstances without changing the exact law stated in the Quran and Sunnah. Meanwhile, for conventional economics, people are free to do agreements or transactions without any rules or guidelines from any religions. Bidayana once said, conventional economics is economics that give full freedom to everyone to carry out economic activities. As conventional economics is a system of human activities, therefore it is just economics in which the target is only to maximize satisfaction and profit to meet the needs of human life. Where can we find the dissimilarities between Islamic and conventional economics? Let's talk about the lending and financing system in both economics. Lending money to a debtor is an activity that is allowed in both economics, but there are several differences in which it is prohibited for a Muslim to enter to the contract. It could be the effects of interest, riba, gambling, maisir, and speculative trading, where these activities are not allowed in Islam but have no restriction in conventional system. Lending money or financing in conventional system usually will need the borrower to pay interest, riba, for the purpose of profit of the lender. Money is the medium of exchange and as interest-bearing loan regardless of what the borrower wanted to buy or do with the money. This may include gambling, maisir, and speculative trading gharar. The borrower will have to pay the interest even if he suffers losses. Therefore, in Islam, it is haram to enter any contracts of sales that involve interest riba. We can find the prohibition of riba in Al-Quran in Surah An-Nisa verse 161. Allah said, "And for their taking interest even though it was forbidden for them, and their wrongful appropriation of other people's property, we have prepared for those among them who reject faith and grievous punishment." Wealth distribution. Wealth distribution is the contrast of the wealth of various members of groups in society. It differs from the income distribution in that it looks at the economic distribution of ownership of the properties in the society, not the current income of members of the society. As claimed by the International Association for Research in Income and Wealth, the world distribution of wealth is much more unequal than that of income. In the economic system, Islamic and conventional have different ways of distributing the wealth to the society. In Islam, distributing wealth is known as an ibadah for Muslims. It is a responsibility for Muslims to spend their money on others as commanded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the following verse. Seek the other world by means of what Allah has bestowed upon you, and do not be negligent about your share in this world. And do good as Allah has done good to you, and do not seek to spread disorder on the earth. Therefore, in Islamic economics, we can relate the distribution of wealth with paying zakat, sadaqah, infaq, and inheritance. In conventional economics, the tax system is not only one of the ways the government gains revenue. It is also known as the policy tools that the federal government uses to reduce poverty and hunger, ensure against risk to society's health and economic well-being. One of the evidence of how taxes give benefits to the community is, in 2019, Malaysia has ranked the first place in the healthcare category of the International Living Annual Global Retirement Index 2019. One of the reasons is that the Malaysian government subsidies about 98% of the treatment costs for citizens at public health facilities.
Scarcity is based on the fundamental assumption that human wants and needs are unlimited, while resources are limited. Unlimited human wants means that humans have an uncontrollable desire for things. Wants, on the other hand, are not the same as needs. All of us have wants and needs. A need is something that is necessary to sustain life. People require food, water, shelter, and clothing in order to survive. Maslow's hierarchy of needs suggests that human psychological needs for food, water, clothing, shelter, and sleep must be met before they can handle more challenging requirements in life. Furthermore, basic human needs are what allow us to survive, live, and thrive. Our actions are motivated by those needs, and they determine our growth. Thus, human motivation is founded on our basic needs. On the other hand, wants are things we feel might improve our life, but we do not really need these things to survive. It is in our tendency to want a lot of things in life, such as a good house, a car, a computer, a smartphone, and so on may be desired. The term wants in economics refer to a desire to own goods and services that provide satisfaction. The idea, in a broader sense, refers to the never-ending cycle of material desires that all humans possess. Besides, the Prophet Mohamed ﷺ said, "If the children of Adam possess a valley of gold, he still would wish to have another 2 valleys. His mouth will never be filled except with sand, but if he seeks tawbah from Allah, his tawbah will be accepted." This hadith signifies that humans are greedy and have insatiable wants, where nothing is capable of pleasing them. However, humans will realize that nothing will satisfy them after they are dead, and their stomachs are filled with sand in the grave. All of our wants, however, remain unfulfilled. As soon as we are satisfied, something else arises. Our desires continue to grow as we strive to live a better and more comfortable life. A land, a labor, capital, and entrepreneurship are the four categories used in economics to classify resources. These resources also refer to factors of production. Despite their importance, all these factors of production are limited and in short supply. This means the quantity of goods and services that we can produce with these resources is limited. Scarcity occurs when there are unlimited demands but limited resources to meet them. Individuals must be able to satisfy their uncontrollable needs and wants by using the market's available resources. Besides, when a given goods demand exceeds its supply, scarcity occurs. It can have negative consequences such as limiting people's option when purchasing a product.
The next one is, does scarcity exist in Islamic economics? The majority of Muslim economists have been led to follow the same economics line of thought by discussing scarcity primarily from an end-means approach within a geopolitical unit, while others seem to view economic problems only in terms of unlimited ones and not scarcity means. According to Sadono, scarcity or shortage occurs when there is an imbalance between the needs of society and the factors of production that are either available in society or provided by nature. Specifically, this imbalance can take the form of a shortage of a factor of production. On the other hand, there is always a strong desire in any society to have access to a wide variety of goods and services. However, there are only a limited number of resources or manufacturing elements that can be utilized to create these products. As a result, the community is unable to access and enjoy all of the goods and services it needs or desires. In economic theory, scarcity typically refers to a lack of something. The shortage of resources, including accessibility and availability, must be investigated. If a resource is scarce in economic theory and refers to a scarce item, then scarcity refers to the resources availability against accessibility. Availability means if resources can be verified. In Islamic economics, resource availability is not the only aspect considered for determining scarcity. So, scarcity does exist in Islamic economics.
Question 4. Why absolute scarcity is not accepted in Islam? First of all, let me tell you that there are two types of scarcity, which are relative scarcity and absolute scarcity. Relative scarcity here occurs when supply fails to meet demand. Even so, this is largely due to a limited supply of resources rather than a company's inability to produce. But in this section, we will only concentrate on absolute scarcity. When the production of a good is instinctively limited, it is said to be in absolute scarcity. In other words, there is nothing we can do to increase the output. We, for example, have a daily scarcity of 24 hours. This can neither be increased nor decreased. Back to the point, why absolute scarcity is not accepted in Islam? Absolute scarcity is rejected by Islamic economics since it tries to deny the idea of divine power. That's like simply stating that Allah cannot provide such limited good, but Allah has stated clearly in Al-Quran, verse 82,
إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون.
It means all it takes when He wills some things to be is simply to say it be, and it is. This indicates that even if Allah wants anything to exist, all He has to say is be, and that thing will exist. God's words is indeed simple. And it is also stated in Surah Ibrahim, verse 34,
وآتاكم من كل ما سألتموه وإن تعدوا نعمة الله لا تحصوها إن الإنسان لظلوم كفار.
It means that and He has granted you all of your requests, you'd never be able to count Allah's blessing if you tried. Humanity is incredibly unjust and ungrateful. As stated in the verses before, when we perceive the world as a whole, most of the resources obtainable, we humans fail to appreciate the existence of plentiful resources such as ocean, seas, oil beneath, trees, and etc. Each life that is born comes with its own risk, as the saying goes. This implies that resources are distributed to each person born, and that so from here, we can identify that absolute scarcity occurs as a result of a distribution problem. The distribution of resources is inequitable, which means unfair. Some wealthy people have an abundance of resources, whereas the poor have none. Lastly, we must question ourselves. For example, do all of the resources have a scarcity? Were we truly without a substitute for a scarce goods? Are we really utilizing the goods properly without wasting it? Aren't we just saying the resources are scarce without knowing whether they truly are? These kind of questions should be considered by all humans, particularly Muslims, because as previously stated, Allah clearly denies absolute scarcity in the Quran.
In this part, I will talk about the alternative to the campaign of the zero hunger if the sources are scarce. Before we find the alternative or solution to support this campaign, we need to know the cause of the global hunger crisis. World hunger refers to the pocket of the human populations who regularly do not get enough food to eat. Poverty, job instability, food shortage, unstable market and climate change are the factors contribute to the state of hunger in the whole world. The major cause of all this is because of the scarcity in our economy.
We need to take steps to prevent this before it becomes more worse. Firstly is food donation as alternative to support this campaign. Human beings are responsible for each other because they live in the same community. Therefore, each part of the society affects other success and prosperity. Actually, we should be pay attention to people, especially improvised one who cannot afford their needs. This impact of donation, both cash and food, have had immense impact on world hunger. Urban farming is an adaptation mechanism that helps to secure people's ability to provide themselves with fresh and locally produced food. It also has ecological benefit by reducing the city waste, improving urban biodiversity, and air quality. In other words, it helps ensuring food security for the urban community. As a result, urban farming empowers families to gain control over their own fresh food sources. Next is access to education. Education is the best weapon against poverty and hunger. Education provides you opportunities for a job and make you understand the need and demand of the people. It also creates a job for yourself and others. Moreover, education is the better platform to monitor children's health and mental. The relationship between education and health is related to each other. Poor health not only results from lower educational attainment, but it can also cause educational setback and interfere with schooling. Lastly, reducing food waste as alternative to support campaign of zero hunger. Currently, 1.3 billion ton food produced is wasted. Reducing food waste is environmentally important as it keeps food out of landfill. It makes economic sense at the small scale by lowering household food bills and at the large scale by reducing disposal costs for restaurants, processors, and farmers. Food waste is the key to ending the world hunger.
In conclusion, we can conclude that in Islamic economics and conventional economics, both have the advantage and the objective in preventing or reducing poverty among society. But we have to remember that there are certain things in conventional economics that are forbidden for Muslims, especially in transaction. And Nu'man ibn Bashir said that I heard Rasulullah SAW said that which is lawful is clear and that which is forbidden is clear, and between them are doubtful matters about which many of the people have no knowledge. So whoever avoids doubtful matters saves his religion and his honor, and whoever falls into doubtful matters falls into what is forbidden. Humans have uncontrollable want for things, which is referred to as unlimited human wants. Everyone wants to have their wants and needs met, regardless of their financial situation.
In a nutshell, scarcity is defined as the fundamental economic problem of having seemingly unlimited human wants in a world of limited resources. Human wants are boundless, while the resources available to satisfy are finite. But in Islamic economics does not accept absolute scarcity, since Allah possesses all resources and also can grant them to whom He wants. However, the limited resources leading to the many problems and issues. All parties must play a role to eradicate this global issue before they rise at alarming number. Thank you for watching.